Hi, my name is Isaiah. I just wanted to ask a question that I learned in history, and I'm in 7th grade, that the Crusaders battled the Muslims, and the Crusaders were really greedy back then, and they were gruesome. And I don't think that is like us Christians, so I was wondering if that is actually true, that the Crusaders were like monsters.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. I really appreciate the question. All right, so what were the Crusades? And there were many, and they weren't all the same, right? What were the Crusades? Why did Christians engage in the Crusades? Well, Christ, as you know, was incarnate born in Bethlehem, right? And he grew up in the Holy Land, and he was a Jew. And when he died and rose again from the dead, and he called his apostles and sent them to the four corners of the earth, Christianity spread from the Middle East. It spread from Jerusalem and initially into Syria, into Lebanon, into Egypt, into southern Europe, into Greece, Asia Minor, Rome, southern France, Gaul, and then further east, all the way into India and China, and eventually up into northern Europe. But for the first 1,000 years of the church, the geographic, demographic heartland of the Christian faith was North Africa and the Middle East and Asia Minor. Parts of the world that today are almost entirely Muslim. And it was only from the High Middle Ages that Scandinavia and Northern Europe really became evangelized. So, eventually the center of the Western Catholic world moved to Northern Europe. But for the first 1,000 years, it was the Middle East and North Africa. What happened? What happened to change that? Well, in the 7th century, Muhammad in Arabia began a new religion by way of conquest. And he spread his religion through violence, through war, and he would move into cities and he would say, you've got two choices. You can become a Muslim or I will kill you. And he killed a lot of people. And he didn't kill necessarily Christians. He would kill pagans, but he would subjugate the Christians, and he would impose serious restraints on their ability to practice their faith, make them pay special taxes, and restrict their ability to speak about Jesus. And of course, if they engaged in marriage and other family transactions with Muslims, they were the weaker party in those transactions and had to accede to Muslim family law and Muslim civil law. And it became very, very difficult to practice the Christian faith. And in many cases, he did just simply kill them. And so after several centuries of that, the Christians were really suffering in Spain, in North Africa, in the Middle East, and the Islamic Empire continued to encroach and encroach and encroach and encroach on Christian Europe until finally Northern Europe was basically caught in a vice grip between, the Iberian Peninsula, where Spain is today, was Muslim, and North Africa was Muslim, the Middle East was Muslim, Asia Minor was falling to the Muslims, and of course by the 15th century they had taken Constantinople, and they were, the Turks were pushing their way all the way into Vienna, into Austria. And so the possibility that Christendom would be utterly subjugated and destroyed, and that the Christian faith could be wiped out because of Islamic expansionism, was a very real possibility. And, how long are you going to stand there when that's going on?
Yeah.
And so eventually the Christian Europe said, we've got to push back militarily against this military onslaught. And so hence the Crusades were born. And they were not an attempt to convert Muslims. They weren't an attempt to spread Christianity by the sword. They were an attempt to push back Muslim aggression and to liberate countries that had for centuries and centuries been Christian and had then been conquered by an invading army. And in any war, bad things are going to happen on both sides. And so there are plenty of instances where crusaders did bad things. And we don't defend those, and I'm not defending them, all right? There were crusaders who were heroic people. There were crusaders who were scoundrels, because if you hand somebody a sword and say, go kill folks, bad things are going to happen no matter what, which is why the church always says war is the last option. War is the last option. But that's the reality of the thing. And so when you're going to evaluate it, you have to evaluate it by the standards of just warfare. Like if an aggressor is trying to conquer you and impose an alien religion on Christian lands, do Christians have the right to fight back and defend themselves? And the answer is yes, we do.
All right. Thank you very much. One of the clearest explanations of the Crusades I've ever heard. So that was excellent.